bet you didn't expect me to talk about this today. There are two reasons why I feel the need to talk about IO's First Light, despite only being a casual Bond film fan. Number 1. I absolutely adored 3 particular Bond games. My first was the PS1 version of The World Is Not Enough. The second is Agent Under Fire, which I played over and over. And the final was Everything or Nothing. For whatever reason, I never owned Nightfire. My only memories of that game were playing multiplayer at a friend's house. I really have to go back and right that wrong. Speaking of righting wrongs, I had missed out on the GoldenEye 64 era, but fear not. I finally rectified that gigantic offense when I played it last year on the Switch. Those EA Bond games are strangely undervalued, likely because of the shadow GoldenEye created. But because I didn't grow up with that shadow looming over me, I got to really appreciate how unique and well put together they are. Maybe they're not seen as high art because of the Bond label, but they're legitimately some of the best games in the PS2 era, especially Everything or Nothing. I have more nostalgia for Agent Under Fire, but Everything or Nothing is a really fantastic game. Number 2. I am obsessed with the Hitman series, so I was always going to be excited for IO Interactive's next project, no matter what they chose to pursue. Luckily for me, they're not straying too far from Hitman, now that they've moved on to Bond. While I'm rambling about the similarities between Hitman and this new Bond game, I'm so relieved they're using the same Glacier engine, and didn't abandon all that tech for the sake of using the more accessible Unreal Engine 5. The Glacier engine provided the tools to create large open sandboxes that were absolutely crammed with detail and NPCs. NPC crowds were always done particularly well in Hitman. I'm happy to see that they used it to full effect here. Hitman levels felt massive, polished and ridiculously immersive, even indoors. You always felt like an agent, scanning every room for hundreds of different possibilities and methods to achieve your goal. First Light will benefit greatly from this same philosophy. However, what blew me away most about the trailer is not the returning mechanics from Hitman, but the returning mechanics from the best Bond games. Namely driving levels and gadgets, laser watches, fuck yes. They were elements I sorely missed from the old games, and I didn't have much hope that they would return here, but IO loved to mess with my jaded expectations. It's interesting that the trailer features a lot of open firefights. I would have thought IO would be afraid to lean into that, and instead focus on their strengths in stealth gameplay. But it seems like firefights will be an option too, which I'm fairly happy about because I'd rather people weren't shackled to stealth gameplay if they prefer the more explosive and action aspects of Bond, especially from the Brosnan era Bond. I love the stealthier and more methodical approach that Hitman encouraged, but I'm glad to have the option to switch playstyles. Or maybe these gunfights in the trailer are scripted set pieces, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Now it's time to be a Debbie Downer and highlight the concerns nagging at me in the back of my mind. These are petty concerns, but I feel like they're worth mentioning anyway. I'm not sure what the consensus is yet, but I have yet to come around to this design of Bond. Although the more I watch the trailer while editing this, it feels like the process has already begun, and I'll get used to it rather quickly. I still profess that Agent Under Fire's Bond is a fantastic non-movie design for him, but this new Bond is still green, and has yet to adapt to his full 007 persona. We haven't seen him in a tuxedo yet, that's what will make it or break it. As far as his performance is, it's too early to tell. On a surface level it seems standard, but I need to see full scenes of him before judging. You might not think it if you're a casual Bond fan, but even I realize that performing as James Bond is so much more complex than you realize. It's not about smirks, being suave and stoic and dropping one-liners. That's all a front for the really complicated man he is underneath. The games haven't really explored that. Many of the movies have. Even the campier ones have one or two moments to delve into Bond's psyche a little, and I find those moments really compelling. So I wonder if we'll see any of that here with the benefit of a game's length rather than a 2-hour movie. I hope the important side characters like M and Q get a share of the spotlight too. They don't need deep characterization, but hopefully they'll be more than one-dimensional providers for Bond. My other concern is how the story will play out. Hitman's story in a new trilogy was relatively okay, once you wrapped your head around how convoluted it was, but it was hard to say that I cared all that much once the big story beats played out. I hope that isn't the case here. Bond relies way more on the plot and story than Hitman does, and they'll need to hone in on the writing aspect a lot more. Hopefully it'll all come together as well as it should. As a final concern, well, not really a concern, it was more something that would be wishful thinking, but the inclusion of multiplayer. It seems extremely unlikely, and maybe they've already confirmed it's not a thing. We'll never have the classic Bond multiplayer, a highly customizable and endlessly fun part of the Bond experience. But if they went as far as including a small co-op mode, maybe a couple of 00 agents working together on one of the sandbox levels, that would be incredible. Before the trailer arrived, I was cautiously optimistic. Now I'm just optimistic. It's possible that IO might screw this up, but their track record and this trailer point towards a long-awaited revival of the goldmine that is Bond games.